Good morning, Sports Booth Nation. My name is Ethan Dobbeck, joined as always by my co-host Cade Bergstead and Nicholas Piro. We have an exciting episode for you where our very own Piro and Bergie break down the MLB playoff race, MVP, and Cy Young Award winners. Before we get started, though, we just wanted to let you know about all the sick new college tailgater hoodies that you can support your team at the tailgate this football season with. Those are going to be in our store that are in the link in our bio in our Instagram. With that being said, let's get this ball rolling and take it to the booth. We're going to start off with the MVP. We'll go ahead and start in the National League. Who is your favorite to win it, Piro?
Right now, at this point in the season, I have Bryce Harper. The Phillies have inched themselves closer and closer into the playoff picture by having a successful July and August with a record of 31 and 32 over those 2 months. A big part of the Phillies' success has been Bryce Harper. He's done it all year. He's led the Phillies with a 313 average, 33 home runs, 80 RBIs. He's slashed a 429 on base percentage, 625 slugging, and a league leading 1.054 OPS. 14 of Bryce's home runs have been solo shots, so that can explain for the low RBI count. If JT Realmuto or Reese Hoskins had a hotter start to the season, he might have had more runners on base, so that kind of has an effect on his RBI count. But with the Phillies winning baseball games and the Padres losing baseball games, I think Bryce Harper's shot right up into that top spot.
All right. Definitely make a compelling argument for him. Definitely one knock on him is just the overall impact that he has at clutch opportunities for the Phillies. I mean, yeah, he's definitely been consistent, but some of these clutch opportunities that have not been going his way have been going somebody else's way, whose team is just as much in the playoff hunt as we'll get to here in a bit. Cade, who would that be?
Coming in at number 2, we have the cover athlete of MLB The Show 21, Fernando Tatis Jr. Tatis has stood alone at the top of the NL MVP standings for the entire season until now. Yes, his numbers still rank among the league leaders in most offensive categories with 39 home runs and 92 RBIs. Tatis is hitting .285 with a .368 on base and slugging .620 with a .988 OPS. Tatis has had multiple appearances on the 10-day IL, which has significantly reduced his games played. In the last 30 games since coming off the IL, Tatis has hit .266 with 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, and a .838 OPS. The Padres have hit a massive skid, losing 8 of their last 10. They have fallen 20.5 games behind the Giants in the NL West standings. They are 3.5 out of the second wild card behind St. Louis, Cincinnati, and tied with the Phillies after going 22 and 29 over July and August. With the Padres' lack of success and the Phillies shooting up the wild card and NL East standings, Tatis has dropped back in the MVP running.
Yeah, I think one thing that definitely impresses me about him is not only the fact that his numbers are like hits and home runs are just so incredibly high for the time that he has missed, but just the way that he can come back like he was never injured when he does come back. That's just truly impressive. Okay, moving on. If there is a third person in this MVP race in the NL, who do you think that would be, Piro?
All right, I might have a little bias on this third runner, but I got Brandon Crawford with that number 3 position. He has led the Giants' offensive explosion that no one saw coming in 2021. Crawford seemed to be on the tail end of his career with the Giants, ready to. The Giants are ready to pick up a big free agent signing like Corey Seager, Trevor Story, but Crawford played his way right into a 2-year, $35 million, million extension, and he's propelled himself into the NL MVP race. For the MVP, I'm a huge supporter on team success, and the Giants have been the first to 60, 70, 80, and now 90 wins, and they're closing in on 100. And they definitely would not be in the same position without Brandon Crawford. He's a huge part of the team's success. He's hitting 299, which is way above his career average. He has tied his career high of home runs with 21, and his 81 RBIs is on pace to break his career high of 84. He's also been outstanding defensively this season. Every single game I'm watching, he's making the ordinary play and then the extraordinary play. Last night, they were playing the Padres. Brandon Belt bobbled the ball, picked it up, threw it right to second. He had the cleanest exchange and threw a rocket to first base. Not many shortstops are going to be making that play. He is ranking second in the NL with a defensive WAR of 1.1. So he's doing his thing on the defensive and offense side of the ball.
Good stuff. Yeah, definitely a tight race. I definitely see the bias coming in there a little bit for Crawford, but he definitely does have some good numbers. I just don't think he's quite on the level that Tatis or Harper on this season. But let's move it on over to the American League. This one is definitely a tighter and much more highly um, talked about race this year, specifically because it has the dual threat Shohei Ohtani and the young slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Cade, why don't you tell us a little bit about Shohei Ohtani?
So Shohei's been doing something special this season. He's been doing something that no one's done before, both being a successful pitcher and hitter. Um, he has started 22 games, pitching a 3.28 ERA in 123 innings, striking out 146 with a 1.04 WHIP. As a full-time DH, he has average of 255 with 44 home runs and 94 RBIs. He has a 357 OBP, 588 slugging percentage, and a 945 OPS. As Piero said earlier, with team success being a huge factor in the MVP, it kind of relates to the situation with Russell Westbrook and Oscar Robertson, where he's the first to average a triple-double in quite some time.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. He's just doing something, even though his team isn't necessarily having success. He is doing something that uh, is hasn't been done in an extremely long time, and done at the success level that I think, like in all reality, that like since Babe Ruth was playing.
Yeah.
So it's an extremely impressive feat what he's doing, but there is a very highly anticipated young gun slugger, son of a superstar Hall of Famer. I think he's a Hall of Famer, but Vladdy Jr. Piero, why don't you tell us a little bit about Vladdy Jr.?
Yeah, Vladdy Jr. or Vladdy Cakes as they call him.
He's a thick
He
boy.
he's a thick boy. He's developed into that Miguel Cabrera mini me that we are waiting to see. His performance has skyrocketed the Blue Jays up the wild card ladder and into the second wild card position, and it's just he's been a huge part of their success. He's hitting a 320 average, a 46 home runs, 105 RBIs. He's tied for first in the MLB in homers. He's he leads the MLB in batting average, and he's 10 RBIs behind Salvador Perez for the league. If he wins that triple crown and lifts the Blue Jays into the playoff, he's making a huge, huge push for that first MVP position. But I can't get over what Shohei's doing. Um, it might have a little bit of effect that Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown in 2012, so you have that recency bias. So that could weigh in on some of the the voters, but he's just having an overall very, very impressive season.
Fair enough. Cade, what's your input? Who do you think takes this AL MVP?
It's a tough one, but ultimately, I think it's got to be Shohei.
Shohei? That's
Yeah,
fair. I'm rolling with Vladdy. I can't argue with what he's doing and what he's doing recently in a clutch time at the right time to lift his team into the playoffs. It's just incredible to watch. I have no argument against Shohei. I just personally think what Vladimir Guerrero is doing is more beneficial to his team on a consistent basis at a uh, clutch time. And if there was a third person, who would that be, Cade?
speaking of Toronto Blue Jays, coming in at number 3 would be Marcus Simeon, former Oakland A member. Now with the Jays, he's followed up his top 3 MVP finish in 2019 with another one this year.
You know, I actually
So,
had him in a MLB The Show on my Diamond Dynasty. It's pretty filthy.
good pick.
I also had Vladdy Jr. though, and Vladdy Jr. was way better. Just saying.
Since Simeon left Oakland, uh, it seemed like he's been a man on a mission, hitting for 269, hitting 41 dingers, 97 RBIs. He's played solid defense since moving over to the second base position, and just like Vladdy, Simeon's helped Toronto get into the playoff picture.
Yeah, he definitely has been a big contributor, and his numbers are extremely impressive. His numbers are just like in every way, just slightly less than Guerrero, which is just one of the main reasons why I don't even consider him in it. Because he's on the same exact team, doing the same exact things, just at a slightly less productive pace.
Yeah, but he is gonna get paid this offseason,
Oh yeah,
which is
absolutely,
great for him.
absolutely good for him. He deserves it. I mean, he's a baller.
Yeah, the
Um,
Oakland A's let him walk, and usually what they do is trade that guy in their last year of his contract right at the deadline. They they held on to him, and I mean, if you're gonna pay a guy, he's a Bay Area native, went to Cal, but they let him walk.
yeah, but let's be real. How much longer is Oakland actually going to be there?
Yeah, I think they're smelling the Vegas Raiders a little.
Well, only they're going to come up to Portland. Hopefully,
That'd be pretty kick ass.
that would be cool. Portland Diamond Project. Big fan of it. All right, let's move on. We're going to go and move on to the Cy Young Award winner. We'll try to make this a little quicker. Let's start off with the number one. Piro, who you got for the NL Cy Young?
I got Max Scherzer of it pains to say it pains to say it, but of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I usually don't like to give a player award after he changes teams in the middle of the season. I like player to do it all for one team and help them get into the playoffs, but he's just been dynamite since moving over to Hollywood. Since moving to LA in 7 starts, he has a 0.78 ERA in 58 innings with 79 strikeouts. Lowered his season ERA to 2.08 with 226 strikeouts and a 0.81 whip. He's been the best pitcher in baseball in the second half, and he's just been too good to not deserve the Cy Young.
Fair enough. All right, and who would be his number one competitor?
All right, so Scherzer's top competitor in the NL would be Mr. Corbin Burners. Corbin Burns. After pitching no more than 60 innings in his first 3 seasons in Milwaukee, Burnsy was not in the preseason conversation for the NL Cy Young. But like all pitchers, there were some questions about Burns after the sticky substance checks got put into place. But Burns has continued to dominate throughout the whole season. Burns is 10-4 with a 2.34 ERA in 158 innings over his 26 starts. He's struck out 221 batters, posting a league high Ks per 9 of 12.59 and a .94 whip.
All right. Yeah, he's definitely efficient with his strikeouts, no doubt about it. Let's move on over to the AL Cy Young race. Cade, who you got for number one?
Number one is actually a personal guy on my fantasy squad, Mr. Tight Pants Robbie Ray.
Damn, this is just the Blue Jay hype show over here.
Robbie Ray has bet on himself this past season, signing a 1-year, $8 million contract with the Blue Jays. He's always been a high strikeout guy that has come with high walks, which did not allow him to go deep into games. Seems like Robbie Ray has fixed something in his mechanics because the strikeout rate per 9 innings is at 11.77, and the walk rate is 2.23. He has a 2.74 ERA in 182 innings over 30 starts. He's struck out 238 with a career best 1.03 whip. With the low ERA, high strikeouts, and the number of innings, there's no question that Robbie Ray should be AL Cy Young.
Yeah, no doubt about it. My personal opinion, I think this race is a little closer than we're making it out to be. Garrett Cole has been phenomenal, no doubt, in an extremely tough division. So, Piro, let's talk about him a little bit. Robbie Ray's number one competitor.
Yeah, Garrett Cole. He's been the workhorse for the Yankees this season. He comes in with a 3.3 ERA and
3.03.
3.03 ERA in 169 innings over 28 starts. He struck out 231 with a 1.03 whip. This has not been Cole's best season, but he still has a pretty low ERA compared to a lot of the pitching competition, especially working through the AL East, which is a very offensive division. Yeah, so with the MLB, they had a huge crackdown on spider tack, and it was quite obvious that there were some pretty convincing allegations that Cole was using spider tack at the beginning of the season. Josh Donaldson called him out on it. The media confronted him, and he just acted like a fool trying to respond to them. Like, just simply say no comment, but he was at a loss for words. The Baseball Hall of Fame, when they're not letting or Barry Bonds in because he was cheating, I think they're going to have a similar effect on the way they vote for the Cy Young. But even putting the sticky stuff past him, his numbers aren't better than Ray, so I think he'll come in a close second.
Yeah, I can see it. Alrighty. Um, Well, let's move on to the divisional races. We'll break it down for you real quick and then give you each of our predictions to who takes the division and who takes the wild card spots. All right. In the AL East, we've got the Rays at the top of the leaderboard, followed by the Red Sox, which are 6.5 games back. Blue Jays 8.5, and Yankees 8.5. So Rays have a pretty commanding lead. Do you guys think this is their division?
Don't forget about the Orioles. They're only
Yeah,
40,
yeah, yeah,
45
yeah.
back.
You think this
Yeah,
is the Rays'
this is
division?
100% the Rays division.
Yep,
Kid.
I'm right there with you.
Yep,
Rays
me
all the way.
too. 100%. AL Central, this one's a no doubter as well. The White Sox currently have a 10.5 game lead over the Indians and 11.5 over the Tigers. I don't see any way that they could even lose this if they tried.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've been coasting for the past, I want to say, a month. I think they're,
I mean, at least ever since we started this podcast, because we've been talking about how it was their division since the
yeah.
beginning.
No, they're getting their players some much needed rest, getting Lucas Giolito ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're coasting.
A little bit closer, but definitely has gone in favor of the Astros the past couple weeks. In the AL West, they hold an 8 game lead over the Athletics and Mariners. Is this the Astros division?
Yes.
Yep.
unfortunately.
Yep, I agree, unfortunately. Alrighty, moving over to the National League now. We've got the NL East. We've got the Braves ahead of the Phillies by 3 games and ahead of the Mets by 7. Who takes the NL East?
It's got to be Atlanta.
Yeah, you think so? They're 5-5
Yeah,
over their
they're
last 10. The Phillies are 6-4. There's about 2.5 weeks left of play.
yeah. No, little scared about how the Braves starting pitching has played recently, but their whole infield, I think all of them have at least 25 home runs, so they're going to score it. I don't see them losing that 3-game lead.
You know, if the Mariners were in that division, they would be making the playoffs.
If only.
I
If
know.
only.
Alrighty, so you're saying Braves. Cade, who do you say?
I'm also saying the Braves. I think they got the talent for it, and they're gonna hang on to that lead.
I'm gonna say the Phillies. I think they're gonna find another gear come down these last 2 weeks, and I think you're gonna see the Phillies at the end. Um, but I'm just kind of saying that to just say something different to what you guys are saying.
Yeah, a big part of that is the Phillies bullpen's got to come through in the clutch, and
Yeah, something that they've definitely struggled in.
yes,
Alrighty, moving on over to the Central now. Another blowout. Brewers are in commanding lead by 9.5 games over the Cardinals and 13.5 over the Reds. Brewers division.
yeah, as Vince Carter said, it's over.
Bergie.
Yeah, it looks like they already clinched.
Alrighty, and definitely the closest race of the playoff race so far. The NL West, a 1 game lead the Giants have over the Dodgers. Um, and the next place would be the Padres at 21.5, so they're completely out of it. Who takes this division? Pierre, let's start with you.
Oh, you know where my heart's lying. That's in San Francisco. Um, uh,
Giants 7-3 over their last 10. Dodgers 9-1.
the Dodgers have been on the Giants' ass all season. They've fought them off at every point.
Yeah, I
This
mean, shoot, I think they were only what 2.5 games back of the Giants when we started this podcast.
yeah,
Like they've moved a game and a half since then. Like this race is ridiculously close.
yeah. Every time the Giants win, the Dodgers win. Every time the Giants lose, the Dodgers lose. It's a pretty pretty even. The Dodgers have a better strength of schedule. They just got Kershaw back, and with a starting three of Scherzer, Kershaw, Bueller, it's unfair that offense with Trey Turner, Corey Seager, the Giants killer Max Muncy.
Yeah, we
Um,
get it. They got a lot of money.
yeah, I'm still rocking with the Giants. I think the Dodgers do have to play Milwaukee the final series of the season.
Who will
So
be resting all of their players.
they still got some good guys in that clubhouse.
They won't be playing any of their top 3 pitchers.
Uh, you never know. I think
Maybe number 3, but I mean,
yeah,
I could not
Randy.
see any scenario that they play their 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think Peralta will get a game in that series just because he hasn't pitched very hot recently, and I think
Yeah, but if he does, he would get like maybe game 1,
yeah.
and they would take him out early if he's like struggling.
I'm still going with the best team in baseball, the Giants.
All right, Kate, who are you saying?
Bureau, you're not gonna like to hear this, but I'm going with the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Think they
Pierre.
got
Unfortunately, I do have to side with Kate on this one. I'm rooting for the Giants. Trust me, there. I am rooting for the Giants, and I hope they win because I want the Dodgers to somehow lose in that wild card playing game. That would make me super happy. Um,
It's gonna be exciting last 2 weeks of the season. That's all I'm
oh,
happy about.
absolutely, absolutely. These are the games that are fun to watch. Really fun to watch. But yeah, so I say the Dodgers. Kate says the Dodgers. Pierre says the Giants. Let's move on to the wild card. We'll start in the AL. Boston currently has a 2 game lead over everybody in the AL wild card. The Yankees have that wild card 2 spot tied with the Blue Jays right now. And 2.5 games back, you've got the Oakland Athletics and Seattle Mariners. Over the last 10, the Yankees are 6-4, as well as the Blue Jays, and over the last 10, the A's and Mariners are both 5-5. Who takes the number 1 spot and then the number 2 spot? Any order, it doesn't matter. Who takes the 2 spots?
I'm gonna say as much as they've dealt with COVID, that 2 game lead up in top with Boston, I think they're gonna stay at the top. And then I'm going Toronto at that number 2 spot. I think Oakland and Seattle are going to kind of beat each other up at the end of the season. So I think both of those are. I think they're out of it.
You're wrong. Cade, who do you have?
In the number 1 spot, I'm also going with Boston, but in the number 2, I'm going with your Seattle Mariners.
Yes,
Yep.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yep, they're gonna beat the A's tonight, and they're gonna be looking really good. And they're gonna find that clutch gene and secure the wild card.
This is our year, baby.
This is.
Yeah, actually, I've got Boston at number 1, and Bergie, I'm right there with you. I got the Mariners clutching it out, just doing it. I think the city's really gonna support them and get on their back these last two weeks, and I think there's gonna be an energy in Seattle baseball that has not been there in an extremely long time. This is by far the closest the Mariners have been this late into the season to the playoffs since 2001. As a personal Mariner fan, like there's vibes coming from Seattle right now. This team wants to win. I think they're gonna clutch it out, and I'm excited. It's getting me all giddy just thinking about it.
I think they're very well prepared for 2022. They get a nice starting pitching addition, and I think they're gonna compete for that AL West title next year. But I don't think this.
Well, they
is
don't
their
need to
year.
compete for the AL West because they're gonna win the wild card, and then they're just gonna march their way through the playoffs and win that World Series.
Oh, I'd love them to be in the World Series because I
Hey,
think
if they
it's
do, we're all
competitive.
going. If they go to the World Series, or if they even go to the playoffs, we're all going to Seattle and going to a game. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. You heard it here on the sports booth. If the Mariners make the playoffs, we're all going to go to a playoff game. It'll be a good time. Piro's currently under 21, so he can be our DD. Alrighty, let's move it over to the NL. We've got the Los Angeles Dodgers with a commanding lead. So it's either going to be them or the Giants in that number 1 spot. But it gets a little closer towards the second spot. You've got St. Louis currently in the number 2 spot. Cincinnati 4 games back. Philadelphia 4.5. San Diego 5, and the Mets 8.5. Who takes this number 2 spot in the NL wildcard?
Oh, it's got to be St. Louis. They're 10-0 in their last 10 games. They're playing great baseball. They have the big bender, Adam Wainwright. He's been drinking from the fountain of youth that the San Francisco Giants have been drinking from. Yeah, it's great to see him and Yachty working on the same page. They got Goldschmidt and Arenado seeming like they're firing in all cylinders. I don't think they're gonna give up that second wild card spot. Cincinnati, they had that second wild card spot, but they've just found every opportunity to blow it. I think they lost a series to the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can't be doing that. You're playing Washington coming up this week, but I'm not confident they're going to win there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there with you. They're just playing too hot. I think they're gonna sweep to that number 2 spot away, which really sucks because Cincinnati is my number 2 team. But it is what it is. I think they're gonna get it. I did play on the St. Louis Cardinals when I was in T-ball, so go Cardinals. But then I did play on the Philadelphia Phillies my year 2, so I got biases. And then I was also an athletic, but we won't talk about that. All right.
Yeah, I was a Dodger in Little League, and
Bergie, who you got?
I'm also going with St. Louis. I mean, they're up 7-0 right now on the Brewers, and I think they got a big enough lead that it's not going to be a problem for them.
Yep, getting hot at the right time does magical things. Alrighty, guys, that wraps up our weekly MLB show. You can expect this episode once a week throughout the playoffs and at the end of the season. We will transition this episode into a NBA NHL breakdown show for those for the year until football is over. Let us know what you guys think about our predictions and what you guys predict yourselves, as well as make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, as well as follow our Instagram and check out our merch store in the bio. Make sure you tune in tomorrow as Piro, actually today because we had to record this late and they'll post on the same day. But make sure you tune into our other episode where Piro will be giving his first ever MLB picks of the weekend, as well as Cade giving us his NCAA picks, I will be giving you the NFL picks. And after review, the booth says it's good. Have an extraordinary day, you guys.
Today's episode was produced, edited, and perfected by Cade Bergstead, directed by Ethan Daubeck, and written by Nicholas Piro.